Now, the families of 21 school children found dead at Enyobeni Tavern in Scenery Park, East London in June are calling for President Cyril Ramaphosa to launch an inquiry about the cause of death of their children. As they are concerned, they will never get answers. They say they want justice for their children. To date, they are still awaiting the results of the investigation. For more on this, we're joined by Professor Lulama Ntshingwa from the South African Council of Churches. A very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for your time, Professor. A lot of concern, a lot of families wanting closure, and this investigation is still leaving many with several questions. Talk to us about what your thoughts are as the Council of Churches.
The Council of Churches is providing psychosocial support to the families of the 21 children that died on the 26th of June 2022 at Enyobeni Tavern, Scenery Park, East London. And this tragedy is traumatizing all of us in around East London, simply because some of these families go to our churches, and the children that died come to our churches, and the parents, after probably a month after the funeral, they approach the SACC to say that they are literally left alone. And no one is talking to them, and therefore they need support from us. And since then we've been working with them quietly because they were saying, one, they want justice for Enyobeni 21 be done, and be done quickly, simply because, one, they don't accept the results that were given by the Department of Health. The reason that they don't accept the results, it's simply that they sense that there is something that is hidden. The results, they seem to be conflicting. At some point, the stampede was ruled out, and now they're told that it's suffocation. The reason for suffocation is not really given. And I think they're therefore saying that they would want an inquiry, independent inquiry, by the President of South Africa.
Mm. So, as this call is being made, what sort of process will you undertake now to ensure that something is indeed done, because there is still no closure?
Well, first of all, we set up two teams. One, a psychosocial support team, which is led by us as SACC clergy with social workers, medical doctors, and so on. But the second one is a legal team that is led by Lawyers for Human Rights. And so they are engaging the state on the real cause of death. And in doing so, we are hoping that once we get a sense of what are the possibilities, and then we will be writing to the state president to actually intervene.
What do the families believe the possibilities are? Because they're speaking about the conflict in what is being told to them and what has been produced to them in September by the department.
They believe that, first, they don't believe that all these children died of one cause. And secondly, when they look at the survivors, we have about probably 50 young people who are survivors. The kind of scars shows that perhaps there might be something else. But thirdly, there are children that were kept in one of the public health facilities in East London, but suffering from something else. And so this puts them in a dilemma of not really knowing what is the real cause. And they think that therefore, if an inquiry is made then the real reason will be forthcoming.
Yeah. So, in the meantime, what's been happening in the community as far as the tavern owners are concerned? I mean, we know about the court matters that have been playing out, but just looking at the impact and effects on the families within their community.
In terms of the parents, they know that Liquor Board has laid charges against the owners. And indeed, court cases, appearances are happening to an extent that on the 25th of November, there will be another court appearance by the owners. But they think that something serious is happening and had happened. One is that 21 children have died and no real action has been taken. When the parents think that something drastic is supposed to have happened, to have 21 children dying in a tavern, because they begin to ask questions. Why underage children were allowed to enter the facility? And two, why this overcrowded facility was allowed to trade? And three, they are very serious in terms of really wanting to know who sponsored these children to go to this tavern. And of course, parents are really not happy with the results they are given by the department. Mm-hmm. And of course, they think that if the government of the Eastern Cape may engage them, there will be perhaps some kind of comfort that nothing is being hidden.
Mm. So with the team, the legal team that you've set up, Professor, what sort of time frames are you looking at as you get about with your work?
The time frame is very tight. As they intervene, all the necessary stakeholders within the legal fraternity, they are really putting pressure that everything should happen immediately. They are already laying criminal charges against the owners, and they are now beginning to look at what are other stakeholders that may be liable for what actually happened, because nobody knows exactly what happened in the Enyobeni tragedy, and therefore our lawyers are beginning to investigate what exactly happened so that necessary steps can be taken. So criminal processes are already in place. Mm.
With more questions than answers, how in your interactions are you experiencing the families as you perhaps see them one-on-one? How have the deaths of their loved ones, their children, left them as they try and pick up the pieces and get the full spectrum, the full picture of what actually happened?
For starters, parents feel they are being judged by some communities. That how did they manage to allow their children to go to a tavern at night? So they're being judged about that, to an extent that they even afraid to share to their churches that they have children that have actually died in this tavern because of the stigma they will carry. And secondly, when you interact with them personally as individuals, families, some of them are traumatized. We meet fathers that do not want to talk about this. They feel they don't need to talk about this. But we also have, of course, mothers who want to talk about it. So it is a traumatic situation to the families, to friends. It is very traumatic. Lastly, we have young boys, survivors, who were not known by their parents that, in fact, they did go to Enyobeni. And they experienced, they saw what happened but they're afraid to tell their parents, especially their grandparents, that they've been there. So what we see here, we are seeing children who have to, survivors who have to write matric, but traumatized. You see children who are traumatized that they cannot literally tell their parents that they were there. And we believe that if this continues and they are not helped, we will have a problem of children who are very angry, children that will cause more violence.
Yeah, we're also hearing of some reports that every now and then the Enyobeni Tavern is open. Can you confirm that? I
can't confirm that because I've not been there. But I'm told that indeed it is being opened. But also there are other taverns that are just running as business as usual. And that's what makes families feel very bad, that 21 children may die and the owners seem to be free and business as usual.
Yeah, very well. Wishing you all the best there, Professor Lulama Ntshingwa from the South African Council of Churches, of course, speaking to us about their call to launch an inquiry to really get to the bottom of what happened at the Enyobeni Tavern. The parents are not happy with what answers and, what the outcome of that report was by the department in September.